Tape Deck Media.
I'm Chris Chapman.
And I'm Aaron Fresquez.
I'm Joseph Beck Castro.
Cool. And together, we produce a comedy podcast about the films of Arnold Schwarzenegger called See You at the Potty, Richter.
See you at the party, Richter. Like that. You need to say it with accent.
Yeah, come on. Don't you know accents?
That's not Arnold Schwarzenegger accent. This is a Schwarzenegger accent.
It's an accent, sure. Anyway, listen each month as we take you through Arnold's career, one movie at a time. For each movie, we'll explain the plot, discover some fascinating trivia about its production and promotion, and rate the film on its quintessential Arnoldness.
That's what we do. I mean, that's what we do.
That is Joe's accent is a lot better than my accent.
We know you have a lot of choices in the comedy deep dive into the filmography of the world's most charismatic bodybuilder genre of podcasts, but please consider giving us a shot.
Come on, do it now. Do it. Subscribe.
Mr. Westenberg, welcome back to the podcast. Third time offender.
Second time. But
Oh,
yeah,
if
we
you
all knew
count-
this day was
If you count, what was my old one? Rambling with Ruddle, which I do.
I want to count it, but I don't think it's on the internet anymore. So
That's true, yeah. I believe you
it's
can
been
listen
wiped
to those.
from the web and my mind. Yeah.
Yeah, you can listen to those on my Patreon, I believe. Welcome back, sir. So we are doing this episode to coincide with the release. Is it a remake or is it a new Tony Hawk Pro Skater game?
It's a remaster. So in the same way in 2020 they did Pro Skater 1 and 2, it's essentially the two core PS1 games. It's just they're so old, rather than giving them an HD remake, they just completely rebuilt it from the ground up.
Oh, I see. So it will be like, it won't be just the old ones with a new can of paint, but it'll be like the same storyline and stuff?
Definitely not the old ones with the new can of paint. They actually did that. It was called Tony Hawk HD, and it was fucking horrible. It was by Robomoto, the same people who did Pro Skater 5, and it's just the worst thing ever. So yeah, it's rebuilt from the ground up. The last one was from Pro Skater 1 and 2, the first remake was from Vicarious Visions, who did Crash Bandicoot and Spyro. This time, I believe it's a different team. I can't remember who's making it, but I'll look it up. But yeah, same game, just remade on modern consoles.
What a time to be alive where we're now seeing games that, like, in my mind came out a couple of weeks ago remastered. Like, I remember being shocked at how much Halo has, like, did you ever play the Halo remake?
I didn't play the remake. I played the original, didn't play the remake.
You could flip between the old graphics and the new graphics just by hitting a key, and it was so weird. Like, I could have sworn it looked better than it did, in the old version when I was a kid. But yeah, time marches on, eh?
It kind of gets you, because I have a PlayStation 1 specifically to play the original Pro Skater 2.
Yeah.
And I know what you mean. Like, when I fire it up, I'm like, I don't remember it being this janky. But it's like janky and it's old and you can't really make out the facial expressions. I actually thought Jamie Thomas was bald because the graphics in Pro Skater 1 are so dated. It actually looks like he's bald, but he's not. He was just meant to have like a beanie on. Right. And he actually has a full head of hair. It just blew my mind. I was like, shit.
So take us through the timeline of Tony Hawk games. Was Pro Skater the first skateboarding game ever?
No, it wasn't. There's been a few. So there was a few on the NES, but no one really knew how to do them. So like Pro Skater, or if it, down here is actually called Tony Hawk Skateboarding for some reason. And then the second one gave it the Pro Skater name. Right. But like, they were real primitive. So a lot of them are kind of like racing games, but on a skateboard. Like the one I played a lot was a game called Street Skater. And it's kind of like, I don't know how much Tony you've played, but it's like, the downhill jam level. It's kind of like that, except like instead of getting a high trick counter, you're basically supposed to just get to the end of the level before the timer runs out and just have a certain amount of points. So halfway through the level, there'd be a half pipe. You'd spend like 45 seconds on the half pipe to get the point counter, and then you'd continue on. It was, yeah. And then Tony Hawk came along and kind of pretty much perfected what a skating game should be.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, I listened to an interview of his like career before that. I think he wasn't doing so well financially until that game, right?
No, not really. Because also before that, skateboarding was kind of out. Like it wasn't cool anymore, because it was sort of cool around like the 70s, but it was sort of like those long boards, and everything was very low to the ground. There wasn't like a lot of, kick flips or whatever. It's like people would, in California at least, people would kind of like go into like drained swimming pools, and then they'd kind of just like grind the edge of the ramp. No one was really doing a lot of like vert stuff. And then it kind of had like a little bit of resurgence. Like it was coming back a little bit, but there wasn't a lot of money in it. And then after Pro Skater came out, it just kind of like broke everything. I mean, it was kind of coming back with X Games, but it wasn't like, it wasn't like in the forefront of everyone's mind in the same way that it is now. Yeah, but he wasn't doing too good.
I remember him talking about like the way he would make money, because like Tony Hawk's big thing was that he was the first one to do the 900. Is that right?
Yeah, he was the first one. Yeah,
and that is that the sort of thing that, like, how when you look at the Olympics, all of the times like gold medalist times like 30 years ago are like they wouldn't even be on the podium today. Like, is it the kind of thing where a lot of people can do it, or is that still a really hard track?
I think more people can do it now, but it's still really hard. There was someone who did a 1080. I can't remember who it was. It was like some kid. It was like some 15-year-old kid who did like a 1080, which was like a huge thing.
The next level.
Yeah, it was at the X Games a couple of weeks ago.
This is really
Tom Shah in 2012 on a mega ramp became the first person to land a 1080 on a vert ramp in 2020.
Jeez.
Yeah, he was 12 when he did the first ever 1080.
Oh, God.
Which is insane. But yeah, the 900 was the big trick. I mean, something interesting is that the game, so Tony Hawk's Skateboarding, the first game was almost completely finished developing when Tony landed the 900 at the X Games. So the 900 wasn't in the game at that point. And then he called them up and was like, hey, I don't know if you guys saw, but I just like landed this like super cool trick. Do you reckon we can put it in the game? And the people at Activision were like, oh, we're already working on it, man. You fucking rule, dude.
Oh, good on
yeah, so if he hadn't landed it that year, the 900 wouldn't have been in the first game.
And then what do you call it? So the series, that was the first one, right? And then how many Pro Skater were there? Because then they moved on to like Underground was another series, wasn't it?
Yeah, so there were 4 Pro Skaters.
Wow.
So there was Skateboarding in 99, Pro Skater 2 in 2000, Pro Skater 3 came out 2001. I believe it was a launch title it was either a launch title or very early to the start of the PS2 library. And then Pro Skater 4 was 2002, and then they moved to Underground because the format changed. Like,
what was the change?
Well, Pro Skater 1 to 3 was the classic 2-minute timer, and then Pro Skater 4 they introduced the free roaming, and then you talk to NPCs and they give you missions to do. And then Underground really perfected that, and then I think that's why they renamed it. Yeah,
the only one I remember playing were Underground 1 and 2. Were they on the PlayStation 1 as well? No,
those were first ones that were PlayStation 2 only.
Yeah, I remember playing or watching an older cousin playing the Russia levels in what is that, Underground 1 or 2? I can't remember.
It's Underground 1, yeah.
Yeah. And it was like, I remember sort of being a little bit surprised that there was even a storyline, because I remember after you leave Russia, you have to come up with like your ultimate skating move or something. And I remember just being like, man, this is quite like a soulful story for like what I sort of, I only kind of knew skateboarders as like kind of the scary kids on the playground when I was at that time.
Right.
And I still kind of remember. Was Jack Black the voice actor of one of the heroes or something in that game?
I can't remember. That's the one game I kind of like haven't replayed since I played at the original. Jack Black is in the new one. He's Officer Dick in this game.
Oh, okay, right.
I don't think he's in Underground. Yeah, I don't think he was in Underground. Kiss was in Underground. They were the secret skaters you could unlock.
Who were, sorry?
The band Kiss. The band Kiss were in Tony Hawk's Underground.
Oh, that's right,
yeah.
So then I guess that leads nicely into talking about the music, because those games introduced so many bands to people, didn't they?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, a lot of my taste in music, I think, was stemmed from just playing
the soundtracks.
Yeah, because I mean, even going back through it the other day, I was like, it has like Rage Against the Machine and like Primus and like, Public Enemy. They got Superman, of course, but you only listen to you only listen to the re-recorded version.
Yeah, the lockdown version of it.
Yeah. You don't
In my
listen to the
defense,
original.
that was the first version I'd heard of it, so I was like, "Oh, this is a great song."
Oh man!
Yeah.
Wow, you were like, "Oh, this song's pretty good."
Hey, this is a good song. Yeah, I can't believe they only came up with it in 2020.
Oh, fuck! That's actually hilarious.
Yeah. Were they
Yeah,
a band? Were they a big band before Tony Hawk?
No, not at all. I would argue, I don't even think they were a big band after Tony Hawk. I mean,
They just have that
I
one
think
song.
like, well, ska punk kind of has like a niche audience, but yeah, they grew massively because of Tony Hawk. Like, I do think if they weren't on that game, I don't think that'd be as smooth sailing as what they are now. You know, like I'm sure the kickback and residuals for Superman is probably still pretty good.
It's
Even
one of
today.
those like it pays all the bills so they can just do their touring and stuff.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
How many members in that band are there? Because ska bands are usually pretty big, aren't they?
Yeah, I want to say like 6.
Oh man.
Let me quickly Google it.
Yeah.
Geez, I Googled Goldfinger and I got the James Bond movie.
Wow, we literally
1, 2,
watched it
3.
for the first time. I have to say, mid. Like people always gone about Goldfinger like it's one of the best Bond movies. I found it so boring.
I haven't seen it. I'm a huge fan of James Brosnan. So like I like GoldenEye, but I haven't seen Goldfinger. But yeah, it is the one people always go on about.
Yeah, skip it.
All right. I'll skip it, yeah.
But I will say that From Russia with Love still holds up. Very good movie, that one. The first one is weird. Dr. No is like that was made by a different studio, and it's pretty goofy. But
right.
Yeah, I don't know. People always go on about Goldfinger like he's one of the most memorable villains, but I found the whole movie just talking. Like there's not a lot happens really.
Well, because isn't Goldfinger, don't they parody that in Austin Powers as well?
Goldmember, yes.
Goldmember? Yeah.
Goldmember, much more entertaining villain, to be honest. Yeah.
Wow, interesting. All right, well, I'll skip it, but
yeah, skip that. Watch Goldmember
or I'll watch
again.
it and be like, what were you on about?
Yeah.
This was great. Yeah.
Maybe it'll be your new favorite movie. Who knows? This is a real 90s throwback episode. Austin Powers, Tony Hawk.
I mean, I'm kind of stuck in the 90s, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Like, it's just still like, yeah.
Take me back.
I mean, I'm wearing an Ice Cube shirt, for fuck's sake. So,
So then some of the other bands, like I'm guessing Blink were big before Tony Hawk.
I don't think Blink were in Tony Hawk.
Oh, they weren't? Oh, that seems like a really natural match to me.
Yeah, I don't think they were. I mean, because, Blink were massive. So Blink, like Enema of the State was their kind of like, so they had Dude Ranch in 97, which, is a hilarious title that I didn't get until embarrassingly recently.
Yeah.
But then 99 was Enema of the State, which actually came out before the first Pro Skater. I believe the first Pro Skater was September 99. But yeah, they were already massive. But I don't believe, from memory, they've ever been in a Tony Hawk game.
Were they the band that also have an album called something like Take Off Your Pants and Jacket?
Yeah, that was the album that came after. Yeah, Take Off Your Pants and Jacket.
I didn't realize how sort of goofy they were until kind of recently. I never really listened to the lyrics, but yeah.
Oh, incredibly goofy. I'm telling you, Blink-182 at Spark Arena, best concert I've ever been to in my life.
That was recently, right?
Yeah, it was like 2 years ago. Best concert ever. I was just smiling from face to just, yeah.
Is it that thing where like all the band members are back, or was it like have they found fill-ins for people that aren't around anymore?
No, so it was a big thing because it was Tom coming back. So Travis Barker isn't the original drummer. The original drummer is a guy called Scott Rayner, but he was sort of kicked out kind of before they really blew up. He was just like a bit of an alcoholic. But then like Mark, Tom, and Travis was like, that was the source. That was where it was, because it's like Travis is like a fucking genius on the drums. Like he's one of the best drummers. Whereas it's like, the guitar playing, love it, catchy as hell, but it's so basic. It's incredibly basic. So like Travis added a lot of flavor, but that was where it was kind of like, fucking dick jokes and just like real catchy pop songs.
Yeah.
So then it was like that for ages. And then Tom quit the band. in like 2004, and then they didn't do anything, and then he came back in 2010, and then he quit the band again, and then they got Matt Skiba in from Alkaline Trio, which was fine. I don't mind those albums. It's just, it's just not the same. And then Tom came back afterwards because we thought he was gone. Like he was gone to like prove that aliens exist. And he was doing another band called Angels and Airwaves, which I really liked Angels and Airwaves, but the lyrics are fucking corny as shit. Like they have with Angels and Airwaves, he put out an album called Love and then Love Part 2, and I'm just like. I'm like, but when I was in university, I was like, this speaks to me. But now I was like, in my late 20s, looking back, I'm like, the lyrics are just kind of fucking cringe, man.
That's probably good that you've grown.
Yeah. But then Tom came back to Blink and they put out an album called One More Time, and it's like so good. It's like one of the best albums ever. But yeah,
there's two singers in Blink. Is he the Where Are You one, or is he the other
that's
one?
him. Yeah,
he's the
he's the one who sounds like the chipmunk. Yeah, Mark, the other guy, he's the bass player. He was also the one who had cancer.
Oh, right on. And I'm guessing he beat it?
He did beat it, yeah.
That's good, yeah.
He did, yeah.
It's just 3 of them in that band?
Just the 3, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I've always wondered if that plays into a decision with a band of like, because you see some bands where the singer only sings, and you're like, I wonder if it's actually cheaper to have like a singer that can play guitar, and you can sort of double up on roles, so you're not splitting as much of the profits.
Yeah, I mean, I think. I don't know. I guess it's just like, just depends. I mean, there's some people who I'm sure can sing incredibly well and can't play guitar to save their lives. But like, for punk especially, you kind of really only need 3. Like Green Day was a trio for the longest time. Now they have a massive extended band just because of, after like American Idiot, just because of all the extra instrumentation. But like for punk, you don't need someone doing wailing fucking guitar solos for punk music.
Yeah, it's pretty simple, isn't it? The one thing you better help me understand. So Green Day were they an early 00s band, or were they 90s as well?
No, they were 90s. They are kind of like, they didn't invent it. I think the creators of pop punk would be the Ramones. But Green Day kind of like, champion the sort of like 90s come in. So their massive breakthrough album was Dookie, which came out in 95. And that was the one with like Basket Case and like Longview and like Welcome to Paradise. When I Come Around, that was the sort of one. And then after that, you had a bunch of like other pop punk bands kind of sprout up a little bit. Like The Offspring went from like heavy metal to like pop punk. But yeah, that's definitely 90s.
We'll get into that.
Yeah. You can actually find clips of Green Day playing Woodstock 94 online. So,
wow.
Yeah.
And were they big then, or was that, did they really pop in the early 2000s?
Oh, they were huge with Dookie.
Dookie was really big, yeah.
Well, it's interesting because Woodstock 94, it was like they come up and then they put out Dookie and it was like a massive hit. And then they put out a couple more albums, and then towards 99, 2000, they were actually waning a little bit. So like their star was coming down. They weren't as popular as what they once were. And they did a tour with Blink-182 called the Pop Disaster Tour.
I remember
and Blink-182 were actually the headliners over Green Day, which is like real fucking, that would be like having Megadeth headline over Metallica. You're like, it doesn't quite sit right. And Mark said basically in his book, Mark Hoppus, a bass player of Blink-182, they were like out for blood because they were like the pop punk kings, and then Blink overtook them. Yeah. And then they did that tour, and then Green Day put out American Idiot, and then they've just been like massive ever since. But they were on the come down in the late 90s, which is, interesting to think about.
Yeah, and then I always sort of forget how big Green Day are, but they had a lot of like smash hits, didn't they? Even like American Idiot was that the album with that like fist on the cover?
That was the album, the fist on the cover. Yes.
Yeah, that's like
that was the big one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Holiday was on the was it Holiday? I think it was Holiday. It was on the soundtrack for Tony Hawk American Wasteland.
I didn't realize how political that Holiday song was until very recently, because I saw someone doing it for karaoke, and I was like, wow, this is quite a politically charged song. But that's a lot of
Green Day is so political. Yeah. like people now, like they call headlines for like taking jabs at like the current administration at like
Yeah.
Coachella and stuff, and people are just like, oh, I can't believe they sold out, like stick to music. And I'm like, if you
Yeah.
didn't realize Green Day were political this entire time, then
Yeah.
like that says more about you than it does about the band. Like, I don't know how you can listen to a song called American Idiot and think it's
Yeah.
about nothing.
Yeah.
Like it's so like,
It's
what
like
are you talking about?
with Rage Against the Machine as well. I remember they were getting people being like, it's that same thing of like stick to the music, and it's like, who do you think they're talking about when they say Rage Against the Machine? Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean the only controversy with Rage was that when they reformed, because they've kind of always had this like, almost like pro-communist kind of like, going against the administration or whatever.
Uh,
They caught a lot of flack because their ticket prices were insanely expensive. So it's kind of like one of those things, I think people kind of rally around like, people challenging power, but when the person challenging power is,
yeah,
really fucking rich, you kind of
yeah,
become a little bit like critical of that a little
yes,
bit.
yeah,
You're like, what are you doing, man?
yeah. You can't
Yeah.
be like preaching communism and then charging a crate like so much the average person can't afford tickets. That's
Yeah.
you're mixing your messages there, I think. I
Yeah.
wonder
I mean, I don't know how much control bands have over
exactly. I was
ticket
going to
price.
say, I wonder how you get to like. I wonder if they even know at that level, like, and then probably them hearing about it for the first time is when people like, complain about it, and they're probably like, "Oh shit, is it? Is that what the ticket price is up to?"
Yeah. I always wonder that. I don't know. I
Yeah,
just I
because
hate Ticketmaster.
I think all artists, yeah, you're like, I won't be like that when I get to that level, but I think the whole like live event industry is such like a mafia that, venues have contracts with Ticketmaster, so you can't do ticketing through anything but Ticketmaster, and then Ticketmaster can basically charge as much as they want, and they slap all those fees onto you, and it's like the system is just so like ironclad that you don't have a choice by the sound of it.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure when you're at a band at that level, like the actual musicians are probably so disconnected from whoever plans their tours that
Uh-huh.
I'm sure they probably don't even have a say over like what cities they go to. Like
Yeah.
I would say they probably just get a list of tour dates and everything's been done, and then yeah.
Get on the
I
plane and go here.
Yeah, yeah, there's no chance a band that big is doing their own admin. There's just
No.
no chance that's happening.
He's on Event Finder putting his ticket
Yeah,
links
refreshing the ticket sales. It's like, oh shit, I better put a sponsored ad on Facebook.
Yeah. Oh geez, I was gonna say something about you see Bad Bunny is not doing America in his latest tour.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, and
That's interesting.
people asked him like, why are you not doing America? And he was just like, it's not necessary.
Yeah, you're seeing a little bit more of that now.
Yeah. Well,
a little bit
if
more.
I've heard comedians getting questioned at the border, like, do you do jokes about Trump on while you're doing your set? And it's like, oh God, righto.
Yeah, there is a lot of that. I've deactivated my TikTok because I'm going to America again in August, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, they do some vetting. I've heard some horror stories, so I'm going to play it careful,
Deactivate the TikTok as soon as you land, reactivate it again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't do anything, like I don't really
Well, they're not going to
criticize.
know. Yeah, they're not going to know who any of the politicians we make fun of are.
Exactly. Yeah. I just, I don't know. I've heard too many horror stories, and I'm like, I really do not want to get turned away.
No,
Like,
that's
I really
a
do
long.
not.
That's a long flight to then have to get immediately back on a plane and go back.
Oh, yeah. It would just, I don't know, it'd break my heart, but yeah.
Yeah, no. Where are you headed to this time?
Los Angeles again, and then we're also going to Las Vegas for a couple nights.
Got
But
some spots booked in?
not at this stage, but I will do that leading up to it. It's kind of, I can't really just be like, oh, hey, I'm coming. Can I get on the Laugh Factory?
Yeah.
For like open mics, it's like a lot of it's the week before, but we're going to be in Hollywood for 2 Mondays in a row. So I'm going to try and get on the Comedy Store potluck open mic.
Nice,
So
nice.
yeah, so you sign up at like 4 and then they post like the lineup at like 6. So yeah, we're there for 2 weeks. On the website, it says they have 40 plus comics. So I'm
Right.
hoping that gives me a good chance, but I'm sure they probably have like 300 signups, but
Oh man. Yeah, that's interesting. Oh, I guess
we'll see.
can but try, right?
Yeah, and I'm sure the open mic is fucking horrible. I just want to do
Yeah.
it so I can say I've done the Comedy Store.
Yeah. Put that to your fucking poster for the next Fringe, as seen at the Comedy Store.
Yeah, pretty much. That's the plan.
A regular at the Comedy Store has done it twice.
Yeah, I was in one scene of Joe Damon's Bouncers, but now on the poster I put that, as seen on Comedy Central.
Yeah, exactly. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah,
I've just started stacking all of my views from like Insta and TikTok and stuff and writing like 2 million plus, and it did not help move a single ticket apparently. So
man,
we're back to the drawing board there.
Fuck it, dude. They don't know what they're missing.
Oh, you tell me. We've really gone off of Tony Hawk. So where would we get up to? Let's talk. How come these games were so meaningful to you?
I think it was so like growing up, my cousin who I saw every other weekend, he was like, I can't remember how much older he is than me, maybe like eight years or so.
Yeah.
But like he had a chipped PlayStation 1 and then he had a chipped Xbox.
I'd forgotten about those.
Yeah, and he also had a Game Boy Color, but like he was so into Matt Hoffman and Tony Hawk and also Grand Theft Auto. So like just like the basis of my childhood was just him coming around. He always had Pro Skater 2 or Matt Hoffman's Pro BMX. And I was just like, fixated by it. I also have Matt Hoffman's Pro BMX as well. Same people who did Tony Hawk's too. But just everything about it was just so cool. It was just so cool. The music, the fucking time, everything about it. It just like, I loved it from the first day I played it, and I never stopped playing it. I was like, this is the coolest shit ever.
Yeah, I get that. Like, I think I had a not quite as that much older, but I definitely had older cool cousin who like played hockey and was wearing Chicago Bulls hoodies when the Chicago Bulls were actually playing, and like he was he was just like locked into the culture. And he definitely had like that Matt Hoffman one. They definitely had. They also had another one. It was called like Burnout or something. It was a driving game, and the idea was that you try to crash and send the driver through the windshield and like go as far as you could. I think you got points for hitting stuff. I can't really remember, but I just remember those three was like the holy trinity and then Grand Theft Auto, of course.
It's so. Renee got me a couple years back. She got me Matt Hoffman's Pro BMX on PS1 for my birthday. And at the time, I didn't have a PS1, but she had a PS2 at her house, but no memory card. So I took it around, and she was like, I don't have a memory card. But like, I hadn't played the game at that point, and I want to say maybe 15 years, but I actually remembered it so well that I finished it 100% in one sitting. I just it all came back. All of it came back. And I was like, fuck, wow.
When like a soldier picks up a rifle for the first time in like 15 years and there's that moment of reverence. He's like, oh, hello, old friend. That's like you with the PS2 controller. You're getting your ancestral memories back.
Pretty much, yeah. Did it. Matt Hoffman unlocked, you actually unlocked Tony Hawk and Matt Hoffman when you finish it 100%. So
did they put him on a bike or is he on a skateboard?
He's on a bike, but he's dressed 80s. It's pretty fun. Yeah. Because there's also a demo for Tony Hawk and Matt Hoffman.
That's cool.
Or actually, no. Sorry, I lied. There's a demo for Matt Hoffman and Tony Hawk too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the two of them were quite often appearing in Jackass, weren't they?
Yes, they were in Jackass. Yes.
Yeah.
There's a great one. I can't remember what season. I think it's season 1 where they build the fucking loop-de-loop.
Yes, both of them are in a day.
They have Tony Hawk and Matt Hoffman doing the loop, and then Bam also tries it once, and then like falls from the middle, and then Johnny Knox was like, "You're done, Bam. We're leaving this to Tony and Matt." Yeah.
Where does Bam Margera fall on skateboarders? Is he a good skateboarder, or was he more like a personality hire?
He was legendary back in the day. Like he was genuinely legendary. So the first game Bam Margera was ever in was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. And when they announced the Pro Skater 3 and 4 remake, they didn't include Bam just because of, his recent issues with like drinking and everything.
Oh yeah.
And there was so much outcry for it that they actually added him in like 5 weeks later purely just because of how many people were like just demanding that he was in the game.
Wow.
Like he was really good. Like if you watch Viva La Bam, you know, when he's just skating around in his backyard, like he could fucking shred. Like he was really good.
Right.
And he also just happened to be the coolest guy ever. But yeah.
He definitely is the sort of dude that when you're a kid you look at in like Jackass, and like he dressed way better than the rest of them, and like he always had this sort of like he was real close with who was he, like Villevalo from him, and yeah, he definitely seemed like a lot cooler than the rest of them, didn't he?
Oh, he was so much cooler. Like everyone wanted to be Bam. Like you know, like yeah. And then it's just, you know, he went through some hard time, but like he's kind of coming back, and I think it's great. You know, because like I love Jackass Forever, but I was kind of disappointed he wasn't in it. Like,
That's right, he was not. Yeah, that last one didn't quite have the magic that the others had, did it?
No,
There was some good stuff, but yeah, it's like
I mean, they replaced him for a guy called Poopies, and like Poopies was funny. I mean, Poopies was funny, but I was like, you know, I want fucking Bam Bam in
do you
here.
remember that skit where Poopies has got a sledgehammer and he's on that ladder and he's like, "I'm Poopies and I'll show me," and then he hits the ladder out from under his feet with the sledgehammer, which is just one of the dumbest things I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's so good. It's
One of my friends will still say he fell for the soup in like daily conversation from Jackass. You remember where they got that big hand and they tell one of them to bring a plate of soup through, and they let it go on. And it's like, yeah, can you just bring this tray of soup into the kitchen?
Yeah, and then
Goes
so
everywhere.
good. Yeah, they even get Wee Man.
Yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah, they got everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, what a wild time the 90s were. The other thing, we've got about 8 minutes left in the Zoom. I was going to say another thing about the Tony Hawk. So, the new ones that are coming out, do you feel like like when was the last skateboarding thing that came out before this? Is this quite not a sudden thing, but do you know what I mean? Like, is this sort of like we're going to try to revive it sort of thing?
Yeah, it kind of stopped for a little bit. So during the like 360 era, Skate kind of took over.
I remember that game.
So, in my opinion, the last really, really good Tony Hawk game was American Wasteland. That was the one when you free skate around LA. Then they put out Project 8, which tried to be a little bit more simulatory in the same way that Skate was. And I liked it. It just didn't quite click as much, but I still liked it. It wasn't a bad game. And then Proving Ground, I just didn't really like at all. And then after that, it kind of, the license got sold through a few people, and then Robomoto had it, and they were doing those stupid, like, you know, the ones with like the actual fucking skateboard that you could stand on, and like the games were janky. It was terrible. Yeah, they did Tony Hawk HD, which was awful. They did Pro Skater 5, which everyone's excited about. And then it was, you know, just one of the worst games ever. It was so bad. I actually pretend it doesn't exist. But like, I think the problem was is that those games sold bad, that the games were terrible. So like no one wanted to buy them. And then they were like, oh, I guess there's no money in like skateboarding games anymore. But then I think once they did Crash Remaster and Spyro, like the other big game people remembered from PlayStation was like Tony Hawk. So then they remade it properly. And I was like really successful, like stupidly successful. And then EA were like, "Oh, we're going to do a Skate 4." Still hasn't come out 5 years later. But yeah, I thought 3 and 4 remake was dead in the water because the team that made 1 and 2 were like sold to some other company, and I think they're working on Doom now or something.
Right?
Maybe it was Bethesda though. Yeah, I think they were sold to Bethesda. And then it kind of just came out of nowhere, and I was like, "Oh shit, man!" Like, and now I'm just so excited for it.
I quite like this trend of just dropping remastered games without doing all this faff of like the hype leading up to it. Like, I remember, you know, that Chad meme, or it's like Bethesda releases Oblivion remaster with no marketing, and then it sells like, you know, the game sucks still, but it sells like 200, you know, bajillion copies on the first day. So I like this. I hate with movies and stuff. You see like a trailer being released that just tells you the trailer's coming out tomorrow, and it's like, you're taking the piss now.
Oh, I hate that so much as well. It's like when you have an announcement about an announcement, you're like, just
big things coming, and they do like a countdown to like an announcement, and it's like, fuck off. That is wasted. It's not respecting the viewer's time. What was the other? Did you ever play much of the Spyro skateboarding level?
Oh, I played so much of it.
Was
Spyro
good,
was like
yeah.
my other favorite game. Yeah. It was so good. Year of the Dragon. Yeah, I used
That
to
was the
play
one I
on
was
that.
in, was it? Yeah.
Yeah, I used to play on it for days. It was
Yeah.
so good. Yeah.
I was gonna say, there might be like, it might be like this with skateboarding games as well, but with professional wrestling games, there was this like Goldilocks zone. I don't remember what era it was, but it was a game called SmackDown Shut Your Mouth, and
I remember that game.
I
Played
think the
that.
issues with the later ones is they tried to go too smart with them and make them too like sort of, you can do a lot of counter moves and button combinations and all this kind of thing. And I think nobody liked it. I wonder if the Tony Hawk games are a bit like that, with like skate getting quite advanced, I think, in the later years.
Yeah, well, I think with WWE, it was almost the same with Tony Hawk. It was like, because the core gameplay is so good,
Yeah.
with each release, they had to add something new, but it kind of got to a point where it's like, what you have right now, the kit you have is perfect.
Yeah.
And then they add more stuff for the sake of adding more stuff. And then there's like, it's not quite as good.
Yeah.
Like, I played a fair bit of WWE games. To me, the peak was SmackDown vs. Raw 2007. I think that was the
That was a fun
absolute
one, yeah.
pinnacle of it. And then I think everything after that, they weren't bad. It just didn't quite hit the same way that 2007 did.
What I remember being so surprised at is like in those old ones on the N64 and stuff, they somehow managed to put more character into these animations. Like when The Rock does his spine buster, he pops up in the way that The Rock used to. And then like you look at the way they do it in the modern games and they look so like lethargic and tired. And you're just like, they somehow managed to make these blocky polygons look more like the way The Rock moves than like, I'm guessing, motion capture for the later ones. It's I'll never understand it.
I guess there was just more care put into it as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I don't think N64, it wasn't like yearly releases then.
No, that's true. Yeah.
I don't know. Everything just kind of becomes too commercialized. It's just classic video games. I prefer it when they have a couple years apart.
We gotta wrap ski this up, fella. What are your social media? Yeah, that time flew by. What are your social media links, my good friend?
Craig Westenberg on Instagram, and then Craig Westenberg Comedy on TikTok.
Which will be briefly deactivated for
that one's still up. My Craig Westenberg no comedy, that one's gone.
Right on. And you also, I understand, the proprietor of Red Bar on Saturdays now. So if you're
yes, I am. Red Bar open
come out
mic,
and watch it. I love the vibe of that bar. Those little drawings. Are the cartoons still on the wall?
Still on the wall. I think it's the best outside of the classic. I think it's the best open mic in Auckland. It's like just one of those venues where it just absolutely works for a small intimate comedy show.
Yeah, hell yeah. So get along to that. Saturdays at 8, is it?
8 p.m. every Saturday, yeah.
Free entry, hell yeah. Well, thanks for joining me, Craig. I appreciate your time and take it easy.
Always a pleasure. You too, fella. Catch you around.
Thank you for listening to Ruddle Me This. Don't forget to hit subscribe and leave me a review on your favorite podcast platform. You can find me on social media at Taylor Ruddle Comedy on all the major platforms. You can also join patreon.com/Taylor Ruddle Comedy for free, which gets you access to all sorts of extras and behind the scenes content, as well as allows you to communicate directly with me and let me know what you think of the show. Tune in again next Monday for another episode of Ruddle Me This, and until then, Ruddle her out.
This has been a Tape Deck Media production. Thank you for listening.
Hey Ruddlers, I joined a group of podcasters that we are calling the Trailer Alliance, a group of podcasters that share each other's trailers at the end of the episodes and generally support each other. So at the end of each episode for the next few weeks, I'm going to be playing a trailer of one of the members of the Trailer Alliance. And here's one of them now. I hope you like it.
Are you struggling with a lack of access to captivating entertainment and media? Are you faced with constant judgment and ridicule from friends and family for your inability to respond appropriately to sensitive situations? If this sounds like you might be suffering from being emotionally dead inside. But it's not too late to make a change. One Nothing Podcast is a newly available treatment for being dead inside. Taken just once every 2 weeks, One Nothing could make a world of difference. By combining carefully measured dark humor to the amazing original formula of grisly fatalities, One Nothing Podcast has successfully entertained thousands of people suffering from death inside. And with access across all podcast platforms, treatment has never been more readily available. But don't trust my word. Here's some real-world testimonials from a few of our listeners currently undergoing treatment.
From consistent doses of One Nothing Podcast, my posture has greatly improved due to being kept on the edge of my seat.
The One Nothing Podcast comes on, everybody be like, shut the f*** up. I be quiet, but when the episode's over, I be talking again.
Oh my gosh, buddy. I used to be on so many medications for blood pressure, and then I listened to One Nothing Podcast's episode on Kitty Genovese, moved into an apartment on my own, and haven't needed it since. That one really got my blood pumping.
You know, listening to One Nothing Podcast, I'm not constipated anymore. I'm just full of shit.
So what's stopping you from great entertainment?
One Nothing Podcast is not intended for all audiences. Listeners under 18 years of age should obtain permission from your parent or guardian before downloading. Tell your therapist if you're predisposed to whining, complaining, rating podcasts poorly, being overall combative, or being easily offended, as One Nothing Podcast might not be right for you.
So stop letting great content pass you by. Talk to your therapist today to see if One Nothing Podcast is right for you.